get nuts! Come on, let's get nuts.
Hello, Christine.
Hello, hello.
How are
Hi,
you?
Christine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh,
Great.
super now, super. Nice to meet you. Thanks a million for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And yeah, because I know you're super busy, and yeah, thanks a million for taking the time. How's things over in Costa Rica?
It's pretty hot today,
Right.
but electricity is on, so all is good for right now at least.
God bless modern technology with the AC, huh? So
Yeah.
yeah, Christine, thanks so much for coming on. Just for our listeners, you had a viral video. Is it 10 years ago now? I think maybe a
It
bit
is
longer.
actually going to be 11 years in August. So yeah, it has
Yes.
been a while.
So, and in a nutshell, it was you were encountering a sea turtle and you've seen that there is a plastic straw stuck up its nose. And you were there trying to rescue it out and you managed to remove it. Like, first of all, how long was that straw stuck in its mouth, do you think? Or stuck in its nose, I should say.
Well, we don't exactly know, right?
Yeah.
Because we had this turtle on board for research and we just saw something funny and thought it was, at that point, we thought it was like, well, funny to pull it out because, well, you don't see that every day.
No.
And it came out pretty encrusted. So you could still see it's plastic. It had this very typical, black stripes of these generic plastic straws back in the days that you were buying in the supermarket.
Mm,
And it wasn't there since yesterday because there was also some growth of like organic growth around it. But
right.
we can only guess of how long it was stuck there.
Yeah. Um, like, and that's only turtles that you're coming across. Like, imagine that's what's not being found and what's not being encountered by humans. It's really an issue. Like, so you grew up in Germany, I believe, and how did growing up there lead to a career protecting sea turtles in Costa Rica?
Yeah, I always wanted to be an ocean explorer. So that was, when you don't have the vocabulary to talk about stuff, that was, I wanted to go and dive in the ocean and just discover what's to discover there. And
Mm,
then, with the years, I found, okay, there is an actual career. It's called marine biology. So I wanted to become a marine biology. And to be quite honest, for the longest time, sea turtles were not on my priority list. It was humpback whales. That was my big love. And that was the reason I wanted to become a marine biologist.
mm,
And it wasn't until I got the chance to work as a researcher here in Costa Rica, already doing my master thesis or my master studies, that I really fell in love with sea turtles because I got to see leatherbacks, which are the largest of all sea turtles, which you
wow.
do actually have in Irish waters as well. So a lot of
Wow.
people don't know that. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I
leatherbacks
didn't know that.
leatherbacks feed in very, very cold waters because they like jellyfish. And so St. Andrews in Scotland is actually observing them quite frequently. And so they are roaming your waters. So that's kind of the
Brilliant.
fun fact.
Wow.
And yeah, so they weigh between 300, 600 kilograms. They are quite impressive.
Oh,
And
big
if you
animal.
see them on land and then in the settings such as Costa Rica, the jungle, the stars, the ocean, it's pretty magical. And
Mm,
at the same time, these especially leatherbacks have been around for such a long time. I mean, they have been around for about 90 million years. So that means they have survived the extinction of dinosaurs. And now they are at the brink of extinction. And why is that? It's because of us humans, right? And me as a representative of the human race, I did feel, this kind of tinge of guilt. And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I set out to do better, to help, to see what can be done about this whole extinction thing. And here I
Wow.
am 20 years later, still trying to fight the good fight.
An unbelievable journey, I believe. I was actually in Sri Lanka recently enough, and we had an amazing experience down in the south. I can't remember the name of the beach, but there was sea turtles there. No, I can't remember the actual the breed of them, but it was such an amazing experience because they were wild and they were up at a certain point of the day, and luckily enough, there was four of them in around the beach, and you'd have maybe local or beach police that would be inspecting, and it was breathtaking to watch because they were just ensuring that no one was touching the animal, and just being up close and feeding it maybe with a bit of seaweed. But I wasn't aware that apparently it's an issue if you go to touch the sea turtle, that you might infect them with some bacteria or something like that. Is that true?
Yeah, it's not just well, there is definitely pathogens or germs that you
Yeah.
can deliver. There are things we don't entirely understand yet. There is, for example, first of all, it sounds like a green turtle if they were trying to feed it seaweed,
Right. Yeah.
which is the species that is most prone to some type of cancer, which is very similar to the cancer, the human papilloma virus cancer that women get and men can get as well. And it leads to these massive tumors that are growing around or like on the turtle and inside the turtle, and we don't exactly know how that works. I mean, we don't think there is a cross infection, but we don't know, because if you might have touched something that had the virus before, you might be just cross contaminating something like
Yes.
that. But another thing is also, people, especially on vacation, do wear a lot of sunscreens and also mosquito repellents. And so that is an entirely different thing, right? Toxins
Yeah.
that are you delivering to the turtle. So I always say, but that literally goes for everything, not just sea turtles, just look with your eyes. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need to see with your eyes. You're not blind most cases, right?
Yeah.
If you can see, just then, enjoy it from the distance. You don't need to touch everything.
Yeah, well said. Like there's many ideas out there, but which conservation ideas get the most attention but kind of achieve the least, do you think?
That is actually a very smart question, my friend. Not a lot of people ask that question, because one big problem that we have in the sector of conservation, and you have two groups. You have the sometimes seemingly kind of very rational scientists, and then you have the very hot-blooded emotional activists, and they a lot of times don't agree on what's the best course of action. So the thing is, though, that first of all, we have limited funds, we have limited time, because we're talking about extinction, right? So we are working against the clock. And so usually conservation that is based on data, on knowledge, is having the biggest effect, right? But a lot
Mm.
of times people that are more on the activist side don't really have the knowledge, and they do more out of a gut instinct and
Yes.
emotion, rather
Mm-hmm.
than really following the data. And so there is a lot of money that gets wasted that could be used for other things. And if we want to talk specifically about sea turtles, we are concentrating a lot on nesting beaches. And I know a lot of colleagues of mine are going to be like, oh, how can you say that? Well, I mean, by now we know, especially in the past decades, we know that the biggies that are really threatening our sea turtles are climate change, industrial fishing, pollution in our ocean, let it be plastic, let it be fertilizers or
Mm-hmm.
pesticides or petroleum, and habitat destruction, right? So all of those things you can't solve by protecting nesting beaches only, and on top of that, producing baby sea turtles that have by nature a very small chance of even making it to
Yeah.
become an adult. So
Mm-hmm.
the statistics say it's only 1 out of 1,000 that makes it to become an adult.
Wow.
So that means it's, it sounds like a lot. Like I have beaches where I'm producing 30 to 50,000 babies per season. But in my calculation, that's only going to be about, 30 to 50 babies, or like adults that actually come
Mm-hmm.
out of those beaches. And industrial fishing, pollution, climate change, and all of those things, they are actually getting to the adults, right? So they are the ones, or the ones, especially industrial fishing, the ones that are dying are the 1 out of 1,000 that have already made it. And so the daunting thing is, it's something that I cannot control locally, but the great opportunity it is that we literally can all help to solve these issues, right? Because climate change, industrial fishing, pollution, all of those things are all about our lifestyles, right? What we are doing at home, how we live, what type of choices we make in our everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I mean, there are definitely leverages. I mean, companies need to also be part of it, but
Yeah.
companies are not going to produce or sell something that you will not buy. So that means you have a lot of power in voting with your money, right? So if you say you have to eat 3 times a day, I'm not going to eat industrial fish. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Everyone in Ireland and in whole Europe and the whole world is going to make those decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think rather than just sitting there and doing nothing and saying, well, it's too big to solve it, I think everybody should put their little grain. And you don't have to be perfect, right? It's just like doing something at least.
Yeah, I watched a documentary there, I think a couple of years ago, and we've talked about this, Niall, before. Seaspiracy. Have you ever seen that one, Christine?
I have seen
Yeah,
that one, yes.
and that was an eye opener for me and my partner, my girlfriend. We watched it as well, and it really turned us off, like you were saying there, eating, just even getting fish from the supermarket, because what's tempting? You don't know for sure if it's actually really viable or if it's telling the truth, and it's dark. It's dark the
It,
way these fish are produced, or yeah, the way they're reared and the way they're hunted, and they're massacred. Like,
it is. And on top of that is what a lot of people don't know. I mean, even if you don't care about turtles or about fish, but maybe you care about human life. So the thing is, or the curious thing about our oceans is that most of our oceans are lawless, right? It's non-governed because it doesn't belong to any one country. And so it is insanely difficult to pass any type of laws or anything. And so what happens in the lawless ocean is pretty much there is still slavery, for example, on boats
hmm
happening.
yeah,
There is murder happening over resources and such things. So it's a big thing to really, there is a UN treaty right now that is trying to come up with an idea of how we can govern our high seas. That's what we call it in our world,
hmm
in order to do any kind of laws and protection, right? And so until that is in place, it is really on us of seeing of how we can over our consumption regulate the market.
hmm yeah, it's yeah, and as you said, it's really one person, if in numbers, can just make a huge difference. Um, what would be the biggest sacrifice that you've made yourself for conservation, Christine?
Well, sacrifice. It always depends, I mean, I think sacrifices such as probably if somebody else looks into my life, probably
hmm
that I have decided to consciously not make a lot of money, so that is definitely a sacrifice. I don't mind it so much. I don't know it any differently. I don't think
Yeah.
I could be happy with a big Porsche in my driveway because I would break it down of what I could else pay with that money that is standing right there.
hmm
Um, I think a lot of my private life. So I don't have children, just because my life is just not really. I don't have time for children.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I don't have a lot of private life, anyways, right? So that is
hmm
another thing. I think there's my work-life balance. I mean, a lot of people talk about it these days.
I
Is
know,
really
yeah.
non-existent. So it's my work is my life, right? So, which is not always healthy. I have come to learn that as well, but it's very difficult if you have, I don't know if you want to call it a calling or a passion, if it's not just a job 9 to 5, that you can just let it go once the day is over, right? It just stays with you, the entire time, on weekends, in the night, every time. And you
hmm
feel incredibly guilty because you always feel, well, you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it, in my case, for the sea turtles. And if I stop doing it, then will there be another person that is going to pick up the slack, right? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Great
Christine,
answer.
like, there's kind of on a more positive side of things, but there's a lot of different cultures around the world that love sea turtles. And I was just reading about
Right.
all the different, like from Hawaii to India to the Native American and Indians. They all sort of seem to have a spiritual connection to it, and like almost like they see it almost as a divine creature. I think, was it the Native American Indians have their Turtle Island mythology. Do you feel like you have a spiritual connection to them?
I do think that the sea turtles are, if you believe something like in the opposite or like something that you aspire to be, I feel that sea turtles are maybe that for me, because I am a very high strung, very quick witted, very quick moving person. And I feel the sea turtles might be, the theme that I still need to learn in life, kind of letting it maybe do things with a little bit more calmness, maybe
Mm-hmm.
relax, maybe chill a little bit more. um yeah, because I sometimes am missing that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the thing about them is they are a real symbol of endurance. When like John and I talk about a lot of different subjects, and we talk about ancient history, and I find that the further back we go, the harder it is for me to wrap my head around.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say 90 million years, I'm just thinking about all of the different things that would have happened in terms of disasters, comets, different civilizations that would have come and gone, and
Mm.
different predators that would have come and gone. And these creatures have somehow managed to survive for this long. And, when you see these different cultures that see it like in terms of divinity and close to God, close to spirituality and stuff, I'm starting to think that maybe there is some sort of divine intervention there looking after the sea turtles.
I would love to see it that way for sure. I mean, there's a lot of cultures that actually feel that the world is placed on the back of a turtle, right? So the indigenous that you
Yeah.
just mentioned, North American, but also some of the Asian cultures that,
Yeah.
see that it's kind of, propped up. It's a turtle that carries, well, I mean, we know it's not a flat earth, but carries the earth on its shell. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think there is a lot of, there's something for sure. There's something.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating that all these cultures, like from thousands of miles away from each other, generations away from each other, and they've kind of drawn very similar, I don't know, theories, but similar stories, similar mythology and beliefs in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably because they have, as you were saying, they're a species that have survived so long, and they're just huge admiration for them. Um, no, like, so obviously you're working very hard in your conservation, and you're sacrificing a lot of your personal life, as you were saying. But do you think that the world is actually making progress, or do you think that currently we're losing the fight and we should be doing a lot more?
Ah, dude, that is, I am a radical optimist. I have to be
Mm-hmm.
because of my
Yeah.
work. But some mornings I also wake up and just look around. I mean, I see the heat waves in Europe right now. I see all the crazy stuff that is happening. And I see also a lot of the politicians that are so unwillingly and so intentionally are not doing anything. And it just frustrates me. I don't think all is lost, but I do think that the next generation, the new generation, needs to push in farther, because I feel
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the politicians and a lot of people that are still in power making decisions are too close to the end of their lives. So it's not really affecting
Yes.
them
Yeah.
anymore what's going to happen in the next decades. Sounds harsh, because I don't have children, but if I had, I would probably worry about their future on
Mm-hmm.
this
Of
planet.
course.
But I feel a lot of the older people just don't. Actually, in fact, I had an older lady really telling me, she's like, I really don't give a
Yeah. Yeah.
flying
That's the
F,
problem. Mm-hmm.
because I'm done. I had a good life. Like, I'm going
Yeah.
to live, my best life. I will keep on doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel until we have the people that really will be affected by it making the decisions, I don't think much change. I don't see much changing. And I just don't understand how we can be so stupid, really. That is one thing. I also don't understand of how we can be advertising moving to Mars, a desert planet, spending so much money in developing technologies that would make it possible to survive on a desert planet, instead of investing that money into our beautiful planet that we
Mm-hmm.
already got, right? I mean, I do
Mm-hmm.
not want to move to Mars. I want to stay on this planet here. I love planet Earth. I mean, I don't know, maybe people haven't been going outside enough to really appreciate what we've got still.
Mm.
No, I agree. It's insane
But
the amount of money they're spending on space.
it is,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Sort
don't
the
know.
issues here first, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's it.
Like if like so you're talking about maybe distrust in politics, and myself and Niall were maybe get into deep conversations about that, like, but as well, but like if governments could change maybe one policy even tomorrow, what would have the biggest impact, do you think?
I think if any type of policy would be introduced, I think it should be that nothing can ever be decided where you are using more resources than you have available on this planet, right? I mean, it should always have some type of analysis that is like, okay, is it affecting our overall planet and our future on this planet when we're deciding that? Because we do have the data. We cannot pretend that we don't know, because we do have pretty good ideas of what is going to happen. People just decide to ignore it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think if there would be somewhere constitutionally, just like every decision that has ever been taken needs to be analyzed towards, what does it mean for future generation, especially resource wise, clean air, clean water, um, clean soil, all of that. I think that might be better than any type of policy. I think institutionalized, just like it needs to be not damaging the future for
Yes.
future generations.
Yeah, and even the likes, now I know we all know viral videos come and go, but I think the likes of your one originally, that really kind of made an impact on the average person, because even for an average person that doesn't go to the countryside often, and they're stuck in the city, they're stuck in their job 9 to 5, stuck in traffic in the morning and the evening, and they're at home watching Netflix and eating food, fast food, but they might have no consideration for the nature. But when they see something like what you did in your team and rescuing animals like that, it gives them maybe a sense of, hold on, there's something a lot more happening out there than what I'm actually stuck on in my life. Maybe I should look into making a difference. So it's very inspirational, I think, and more has to be done. And I think we're living the age of the internet. It really should be kind of utilized more by the government as well, and all different organizations, to really push it into the public side to see, look, everyone can make a difference here.
I totally agree. I think the biggest danger that we have, the threats for conservation or to make any advancement in conservation, really is apathy. People are
Mm-hmm.
so stuck in their everyday life that there's a lot of apathy. And so what I think my video did is that it really tickled the empathy side of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
because they saw suffering and they related to it, even though it was a sea turtle and not a human, but it did something to them on the emotional base. And I think everybody felt maybe also just a little bit of guilt, just like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did when I felt what has happened to sea turtles in general, because I think there's, all of us have used a straw before, and all of those straws could have been stuck in that turtle's nose kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel we need more of that, right? We need to discover that we are all part of the whole, that we're not outside of nature. We're part of nature, that even if we're living in a concrete jungle, that we still, are somehow part of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And that we need to rediscover that, right? That we
Yeah.
have this connection to animals, and that animals are living, breathing, feeling sentient beings as well. And that whatever we do, even if it's just a mindless thing that we threw away like a straw, can cause so much suffering in a sentient
Mm-hmm.
being.
Yeah, it's extremely important. If you were to receive unlimited funding, right? What project would, I know, but let's say just magically it happens, you get a ball of cash that just keeps on falling for minutes on end. What project would you start tomorrow?
Oh, dude. I think, I'm dreaming big, but I don't know if I've ever dreamed that big, unlimited funding. Well, I would definitely try to go and do more stuff in water, right? I mean, there's so many almost white spots on the map still. And like I said, for me, knowledge is really what we need in order to do stuff better. And immediately, just like trying to get more protected areas, try to get stakeholders into the whole thing, trying to convince people to do better. um, I think that is, yeah, definitely going
Mm-hmm.
away from the nesting beaches and into the water, because that's really very time consuming and also a lot of money. That's the reason why people don't do it, right? Why are we doing so much stuff on the nesting beaches? Because it's so easy, so easily accessible and cheaper than just like blowing a bunch of gas out in a research
Yeah.
vessel on the ocean.
Yeah. I know. Like, would you? So you're a scientist yourself, but for someone like that really wants to make an impact, an environmental impact, what advice would you give them? Yeah, for someone who doesn't really want to be a scientist, but they want to make that impact.
Well, I mean, I would say just examine your lifestyle and choices very closely. You know, don't be too crazy. But I mean, if you really want to be honest with yourself, see how much plastic you're using, how your diet is. You know, a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but actually, you know, a more planet-friendly diet is definitely more plant-based options versus a lot of animal options. There's good data on that already. Besides, it's also healthier for you, especially when we look at cancer rates and whatnot. Also, of course, anything that combats climate change, right? So, I mean, you guys just came out of a massive heat wave. So maybe it is now a little bit more present in the heads of people. But whatever is, you know, helping to reduce emissions. So the way of how you are heating your houses, how you go about using your cars and not your cars, of where you're getting your electricity from, which party you vote for, because you know that has a lot to do with the policies that will be made in your country. And this is all things that you can do literally every day of your life.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's because it's extremely important. So Christine, we're conscious of your time, right? So I suppose where can people find out more about you and follow your work and support your work?
Yeah, if you are looking at my website, seaturtlebiologist.com, you can find my me page there. And if you want to follow me on social media, either with my full name on Facebook or at Sea Turtle Biologist as well on Instagram and also on YouTube.
Excellent. Christine, thank you so much for taking the time for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure chatting with you too.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Christine.
And best of luck with everything. Really mean that. And hopefully, maybe
Thank
even
you.
a year down the line, maybe if you get time, we'll touch base again. And we'd love to have you on if you'd be up for it.
Absolutely. Yes, that was fun.
Lovely. Thanks a million, Christine. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Christine.
ya.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. And if you like this and would like more, please subscribe and turn on notifications.